Hello and welcome back to the KanCare Ombudsman Liaison Training. We're continuing our line-by-line guide of the KanCare application for the elderly and persons with disabilities. In this module, we'll be covering application pages 9 through 16, which is the end of the application. Specifically, we'll be looking at different types of income, other health insurance, work expenses for someone with a disability, dependent expenses for someone applying for a long-term care program, choosing an MCO that fits your needs best, and understanding the difference between a facilitator and a medical representative, and also where to find the KDHE, that's Kansas Department of Health and Environment, release of information form so that you can correspond with the clearinghouse about your loved one. We're now going to begin looking at the income section of the KanCare application for the elderly and persons with disabilities. Let's start at the bottom of page 9. Earned income. So this is wages earned from a job. You'll need to submit the last 30 days of pay stubs. If the person does not have their pay stubs, they need to ask for a printout of their gross wages and the date they received those wages from the employer. A W-2 will not be accepted. Also, if you're asking for help paying medical bills for the 3 months prior to the application month, then the eligibility team will need the pay stubs for those 3 months prior to that month of application. For example, if I'm applying at any date in April, and I ask for prior medical help, I will want to send in the pay stubs for January, February, and March, as well as the pay stubs for April. Page 10. Self-employment income. There are several types of self-employment income that may be received by an applicant or their spouse. For example, odd jobs, child care, snow removal, rental income, even if it's not your primary job. Also things like income from farming, income received from leasing or renting farmland, income received from leasing or renting a home or other property. If the applicant or spouse is self-employed, the eligibility team will need their last tax return. This will need to be the entire return, not just certain schedules. If the applicant has a disability and is working, are there work expenses? For example, specialized transportation to and from work, attendant care at work, attendant care to help you get ready for work, service animals, medications, or specialized equipment or tools. Page 11. Other income. So this is unearned income. This is about income that is not received from a job or self-employment. List the gross amount. Again, that's the amount before taxes or other deductions. So for example, Social Security benefits or VA benefits. It's important to list the income of the applicant and the applicant's spouse. The eligibility team is going to require this when determining allocation of income to the community spouse. So if you have one spouse that's getting long-term care coverage and the other spouse that's not, we still need the spouse's information. Providing the spouse's income and verification of income with the application will help speed up the determination process. Most of these will likely be monthly payments, so you can just write in the word monthly after you write in the amount. Also, you do need to include anything different than that. Maybe it's a weekly payment or bi-weekly or annually. You can write that as well. And you need to include lump sum payments as well. Those are, I believe, treated differently depending on what they are, but they do need to be listed. Please list the amounts for any Social Security benefits you're receiving or Supplemental Security Income, which is the SSI determination. Veterans benefits. If you're already receiving veterans benefits, please provide a letter from the VA that lists the type of veterans benefit and the current amount of the benefit. If the applicant is a veteran or spouse or current widow of a veteran and doesn't yet receive those benefits, KDHE eligibility team must have a verification documentation that the applicant has applied for VA benefits or a letter stating they are not eligible for those cash benefits. Your local Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs offices can help people determine if they are eligible to apply and help them apply, and if not, they can write a letter saying they are not. You can get help at your local Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs office. To find that contact information, go to https://kcva.ks.gov/veteran-services/office-locations. Please provide a letter from the Railroad Retirement Board, which lists the current amount, and verification of payments received from a trust must also be provided. Please provide the tax return to verify any income earned from oil royalties or mineral rights. A contract sale is a contract in which a property title is transferred only after a buyer makes a certain number of monthly payments. If an applicant is receiving payments, this is considered income, and the eligibility team must have verification of the contract sale and the income being received. If the applicant or spouse owns property or a home and it is being rented, the eligibility team needs verification of the amount received from the rent. Page 12 asks about other health insurance. So, for example, Medicare insurance or Medicare supplemental plans or other types of health insurance. Remember, they are not asking about Medicaid here. So any other types of insurance other than Medicaid. Do you have Medicare? Answer the questions the best you and the applicant can, and then you can find out a lot of answers on the Medicare card, or the applicant can call the phone number on the card for answers to these questions. Health insurance other than Medicare in this section. Remember, the whole section here is about insurance other than Medicaid, and then this section specifically is also other than Medicare. So any health insurance other than Medicare and Medicaid in this section. Eligibility team needs the applicant to submit a copy of the front and back of the insurance card and proof of the monthly premium the applicant pays. So, for example, with private insurance, such as Blue Cross Blue Shield, you'd use this bottom section to document any private health insurance policies the applicant would have. Just some examples of private health insurance may be Medicare supplemental plan, health insurance through an employer, long-term care insurance, anything other than Medicare and Medicaid. Providing the eligibility team with the monthly premium amounts could lower a person's monthly patient liability or their client obligation. Page 13. The dependent section of the application. Please complete this section if the applicant is applying for one of the long-term care programs. So either nursing facility or other long-term care facility, HCBS, so that could also include assisted living facility, and also PACE. Verification of reported shelter expenses for dependents must be provided. A dependent family member could include a spouse, a minor child, or other family member, and the dependency may be of any kind. It could be legal, financial, or medical. Do remember this section is only if you're applying for one of those long-term care programs, HCBS, nursing facility, or the PACE program, and you have dependent family members. If you aren't applying for one of those programs and you don't have a spouse or a child dependent, then you don't have to fill out this section. Just put a NA for non-applicable in this section so they know you haven't left it blank by accident and don't have to contact you and ask you for this information. Just put in non-applicable. Again, if you don't have any dependents and you are not applying for HCBS, nursing facility, or PACE, then you do not have to fill out this section. Don't forget to choose a health plan. Go to the KanCare website at www.kancare.ks.gov, then select the Benefits and Services link to find the health plan highlights. It's a chart that shows you the differences between the three MCOs as far as any services they provide above and beyond regular Medicaid services. So it's called their extra or value-added services. You want to see which one of those would benefit you most, which MCO has the services that are a better match with your needs. The other thing you want to keep in mind when choosing an MCO is to make sure your favorite or critical providers are in the network that contracts with that, or in that network for that MCO. Make sure that your favorite or critical provider contracts with that MCO that you choose. Note to nursing homes, make sure it's an MCO or health plan that your facility accepts. Again, that your facility contracts with. If this part is left blank, a health plan, which is a managed care organization, will be chosen for the member rather than them choosing the MCO for themselves. So the member needs to make that decision so they end up getting the best MCO for themselves. For more information on how to select and change a managed care organization, check out the KanCare Ombudsman's General Information Fact Sheets webpage at www.kancare.ks.gov/KanCare-ombudsman-office/KanCare-information-fact-sheets. Page 14. If you are someone completing this application on behalf of someone else, if you are their guardian, conservator, their Social Security payee, or their power of attorney, for example, please complete this section and submit proof that you are who you say you are. If a family member, friend, or neighbor is helping someone to complete the application, they may choose to allow the KanCare applicant to appoint them as their medical representative or facilitator. Medical representative can be a relative, neighbor, friend, or other person you trust. You may not name someone who is trying to collect a medical debt against you. So note to persons in nursing homes, it is recommended that everyone in a nursing home have a medical representative listed on the application. However, employees of the nursing facilities cannot be medical representatives because the nursing home is trying to collect a debt against the applicant. What can a medical representative do? They can sign the KanCare application, answer questions for the applicant. They can use the medical assistance card. They can, KanCare will share information with this person. This person will get copies of letters sent to the applicant or member about their case. And this person will get copies of the member's annual review form and is responsible for completing this review each year and for telling KanCare about any changes in the applicant's or member's situation. Address changes, income changes, things like that. The annual review and the updating of the KanCare Clearinghouse about changes in the member situation are extremely important in keeping a person's case open. What if I need to be this applicant's or member's medical representative, but I didn't get signed up at the time of the application? You'll need a completed medical representative authorization form submitted to the clearinghouse before the KanCare will speak to you about the individual's case. This is the same form you would need if representing someone in a state fair hearing as well. You again, at the end of this video, we'll leave clear instructions on how to get this form. A facilitator has a more limited authority to assist the applicant or member. It can be someone such as a relative, neighbor, or friend, or medical office staff, or community organization employee. They cannot complete an application or request services on behalf of an applicant, but they can help the applicant fill out the application and help them through the application process. It may be someone who's collecting a medical debt against the applicant or member, such as a nursing home or other medical office staff. So an employee of a nursing home, nursing facility can be a facilitator without signing a release of information form by filling out this portion of the application. Also, after the application has been processed and the facilitator appointment has expired, it's not required that the nursing facility submit a new release of information form. The nursing facility will still be able to call the clearinghouse and receive information about the status of the application, the dates of the eligibility decisions, and coverage effective dates, patient liability amount, and name and contact information about the MCO. Additionally, the nursing facility will also receive notices to inform them of changes to an individual's patient liability. What can facilitators do? KanCare will be able to share information with this person. This person will get copies of all letters, forms, and notices sent to the applicant regarding their application, and this facilitator appointment will last through the end of the application period. After the application has been processed, this person will no longer be connected to your case. What if I need to be the applicant's or the member's facilitator, but I didn't get signed up at the time of the application? You'll need a completed facilitator authorization form submitted to the clearinghouse before KanCare will speak to you about the individual's case. This facilitator authorization form expires 6 months from the date the form is signed, or once the application is completed, whichever is later. Or the applicant or member can choose a different date. A facilitator appointment of a community organization, medical provider, or staff cannot exceed 12 months. What if KanCare won't talk to me? Generally speaking, if an applicant or member needs someone to communicate with KanCare on their behalf so they can get or keep their services, the person helping them needs to be their guardian, conservator, medical representative, or hold DPOA, durable power of attorney. They must have also submitted documentation proving this to the KanCare clearinghouse. Another important form, which is not a part of the application but is very important to understand, is the authorization for release of protected health information form from KDHE. If the applicant has other loved ones that need to be able to communicate with the KanCare clearinghouse directly about an individual's case, there is a release of information form that must be completed and submitted to the clearinghouse. This is the KDHE, which is Kansas Department of Health and Environment, release of protected health information form. What if the applicant or member who needs your help is unable to make decisions for themselves and they don't have a legal guardian, DPOA, or medical representative? Staff members, neighbors, or friends trying to help them cannot fill out a release of information form for them, even with the best intentions. Doing so would be without the actual decision being made by the individual. Then how can I help them? The resolution per Kansas Guardianship Program, the person trying to help the applicant or member, whether it's a provider, a friend, a neighbor, etc., who is not a guardian, medical representative, etc., can contact the Adult Protective Services about each individual case. You would not say that they need a guardian. Instead, you want to present the problem, not a solution, to the Adult Protective Services. Explain clearly how the individual is at risk and what will happen if the worst case scenario takes place. For example, they could actually lose their services. Be very articulate how the individual is vulnerable. For example, a person is on Medicaid and receiving home and community-based services. The person does not have anyone listed as a representative, no family, no legal guardian, etc. So they may lose their services, which are vital to their well-being, because there is no one to work with the clearinghouse or KDHE to receive and or fill out renewal forms, answer questions, etc. If Medicaid and/or their HCBS services are lost, the person will not have access to necessary medications, assistance at home for daily living, or may even become homeless. The Adult Protection Services may make a referral to the Kansas Guardianship Program, and the court will appoint a guardian for the individual. If they don't make a referral, call the issue in again and again until they do make a referral. Page 15 of the KanCare application is the signature page. It's important that the applicant and/or the guardian or the conservator signs this and dates this page. If KanCare receives the application unsigned, it's considered an incomplete application. It's also important to read the fine print as it provides important information such as estate recovery and the consumer's rights and responsibilities. Page 16, the last page of the application, is a checklist that provides you with reminders of what you need to send in with your application to speed up processing time. This checklist is much less detailed than the documentation checklist mentioned earlier in this video. Also, remember to watch out for further requests for documentation that may come by mail that may be needed to process your application fully. Help ensure success by contacting the clearinghouse when you submit new documentation to confirm everything you sent was actually received. Don't wait 3 months to contact them, only to find out they never received your documentation. The KanCare Ombudsman Office recommends that you follow up within a few days of sending the application and new important information. A note to nursing facilities on page 16 of the application. Be sure to submit both of the following with the application to avoid processing delays: the 2126 form and the CARE score. If you'd like to print this line-by-line application guide, you can look for the link in the section titled Printable Line-by-Line Application Guide. Printable applications can be found on the KanCare website. You'll go to www.kancare.ks.gov, look under the Consumer section, and then Apply for KanCare link. From the Ombudsman section of the KanCare website, next you'll go to the Resources page. That direct URL is https://www.kancare.ks.gov/kancare-office/resources. When you click on that resources link on the Ombudsman section of the KanCare website, you'll see listed all the resources we talked about here today, and a lot of additional Medicaid-related resources. Also on the KanCare Ombudsman website, you can find ongoing education on Medicaid-related topics. Just look for the community training link from the KanCare Ombudsman website, which again is www.kancareombudsman.ks.gov, and there you'll find videos or instructions on how to set up an in-person training or registration information on how to sign up for a class that is nearby you. If you're a KanCare applicant or member and you're needing help to resolve a KanCare issue, we are here to assist you. Also, if you're a provider assisting someone or a family member or a neighbor and you're trying to help a KanCare applicant or member, we are here to help you also. Give us a call. Our toll-free number is 1-855-643-8180. Again, that's 1-855-643-8180, or email us at kancare.ombudsman@ks.gov.